Hey my friends, I thought I would take about 10 minutes to do a quick tutorial on how I make my ring bound junky journals using binder rings. And so binder rings are, they will be also called loose leaf binder rings, but they look like this and you can get them in a variety of places. These are actually left over from a work project. And they open, they clip closed. This one's a little stiff, but they clip closed and then they clip open. And so I wanted to, that one's just tough. Some of them are pretty sticky. Here's one that I have here, right? So they clip open, they clip shut, okay? The reason I like to do these, and I've been doing this for my February book, is that it's probably one of the easiest ways to make a journal. So if you're new to journaling and you're afraid of, trying things because you don't want to, screw up a page that you've sewn into a book, I've done that. I've done horrible pages and then I'm stuck because they're in the book and I have to do something different. This is cool because you can take the pages out. You create the pages. You can play with them flat. So for example, I start with a base. And I'll show you what I use for the base of these, and I collage on top of it, but I can do it flat. I can work on it flat, play with it, and then when I'm done I can stick it in my book. If I play with it and I don't like it, I don't have to put it in my book, right? Or I put it in my book and then later I find out I don't really like it, right? I can take it back out. So that's the real cool thing about these things. And it doesn't cost much. So if you don't have a lot of tools or supplies, these are really an easy way to get started. So what do you need? So you need cardboard or some thick, material for your cover. This is just how I make it. But yeah, this one was a cardboard box that I started. I'm not finished with it, obviously. Or this was actually gifted to me, and this is a hardcover book. So you can use these also, right? So this is super sturdy. And I might use this. I won't use these pages because they're not, what I like. I might paint over them and alter them so they don't look like scrapbook pages. But this is, got a larger ring on it. So this ring is 1.5 inches in diameter. The rings come in different sizes. This is 1.25 inches, which is what's on this little book right here. So 1.25 inches is actually a really good size. And they come as small as 1 inch. So for example, on a 1 inch, I have art prompt cards that I created on really old playing cards. Each one has a prompt on it, but this is a little ring. So this is tiny, right? So some people use these for tags, keeping their tags organized and stuff. So you can find them online, like I said. You can find them at the Dollar Tree, I think, sells them, or Walmart, or maybe even hardware stores. So they don't cost very much. You only need 2 of them to make a book. I would recommend, if you're doing like a larger book, this one is only about 7 inches tall. So if you're doing a larger book, you might want 3 rings in them, but I'm just using 2. Yeah, so I'm going to do another one for March. So this is for the Trashy, Smashy, Funky, Junky Junk Journal Facebook group. The challenge is that we have a new prompt for each day of the month. And you don't need to have a page for each day of the month. You can combine prompts together. So for March, I might use this one because it says Irish literature on it. Kind of cute. But I just wanted to show you like what I would do if I was starting fresh. So here are my examples for materials. So first of all, tools. You need a pair of scissors at least to cut your pages out and your cover, or if you have, like a paper trimmer, you can use that. You need a basic hole punch, one that's going to be able to cut through cardboard or a thicker substrate. I actually have this tool, which is called the Crocodile. I've had it for quite a long time, but it allows you to punch through pretty thick material. Okay, you need cardboard for your cover, and then you need pages. So I'll show you the examples I have for pages. So this is what I'm going to use for a cover. It's just a Triscuit box that I cut apart. I cut the front and back, and then one of the sides I kept to make a measuring tool for my holes. And then what I would do with this is I use a really fine grit sandpaper, and I actually sand the cover. I've done it already, but just to show you, I take the shiny surface off. You can see it really does take the surface off, so that when I glue to it or paint on it, you know, whatever medium I'm going to put on there sticks better. So I need a front and a back, and these are cardboard. Right, so that's going to be a cover. And then for pages, I actually just pulled out junk mail. So this is, you know, a junk mail flyer. Not super thick. I like the even thicker ones. So this is a calendar page, right? So a little thicker paper. This is children's book page. It's thick. Here's a flyer, came in the mail, kind of a trifold, so I'll cut that apart. And I'll use each one as a page. Old greeting cards. So these are cardstock. So I can use those for a base. Right? So just cut those apart. This is an actual big postcard. It was never used, but you can use something like that. Card. This is another children's book page, calendar page. Again, they're thick. This was a book I picked up somewhere. It's samples of paperweight. So lots of different paper in here, or pages I can just rip out, cut to size, etc. This was a big old, what do they call these, flashcards, right? So this is really thick. That's perfect weight. You got a flyer, another flyer came in the mail. This was out of a book. Right, so you just want to look for something that's a little heftier than like a printer paper, right? Because, or, you know, it needs to be thick enough to stand up to, number one, the rings, because you'll be turning it in the book. But number two, you know, like if you're going to paint on it or paste on it or whatever, it'll need to stand up to that, right? So those are the kind of examples that I would use for papers. And again, like what I've said is, you know, this is just how I do it. There's a lot of tutorials out there. A lot of people have some really cool techniques about, you know, making pages and things like that for a ring binder. But I'm going to just use junk because that's the challenge, not to use any, you know, scrapbooking or ephemera that's purchased, or, you know, stickers, anything like that. Everything's going to be, you know, kind of, you know, pulled from recycle or pulled from the trash, etc. So it should be a lot of fun. All right, so how would I get started, right? I've got my kind of a collection of papers that I want. And if I'm going to do the March challenge, which is 31 days, I probably will need at least 16 pages if I do front and back on each page. So I need, you know, at least 16. So I think I have more than 16 there. And then, you know, I would take my box that I'm, you know, the cover, and actually I'm going to take this. This was the side of the box, and I'm going to mark where I want my holes to be in my cover. And I think for, I stick my February journal, basically I just measured down from the top. I measured 1.5 inches down from the top, and then up from the bottom of the box. That's kind of how I placed my rings. So you don't have to worry about any, you know, math or anything like that. So, you know, if I do 1.5 inches in from top and bottom, this is actually a little over 7.5. You want your punches in about 1/4 inch from the edge. So I think this is the straighter edge. I did trim this up so it would have a straight edge. I'm going to center this as best I can. And yeah, we could do 1.5 inches in. So I'm going to just make a dot and make a dot at the 1.5 mark and at the 6 mark if you're using a ruler. All right, and then I would take my hole punch. So like I said, you can use this type of hole punch if you like. And you want to try to line it up as best you can with the hole so you center it. All right, and there's the first hole. And then again, I'm just going to do the second hole. All right, like that. So I've created a template so that this will work for the pages when I put them in. So when I size my pages, before I put them into my book, I have to punch holes into that, right? So I'm going to use the template right now to cut holes in my cover. All right. For me, I don't mind that my cover isn't perfectly straight and aligned. You can see it's off a little bit here on the edge. It's junky junk. It doesn't bother me. So I'm going to actually just do this and line them up together. If you're using a little standard hole punch like this, it might not go through that thickness of cardboard, but my crocodile will. So I'm going to actually punch my holes with the crocodile. Get it nice and tight. All right, and so I've actually punched holes so they're even for the front and the back. Okay, and at this point I could, start to decorate my cover, but I'm not. I'm actually going to start doing my papers next, and I can take these off and do my papers later if I need to.